Hello. They're okay.
Well, I made it.
Hello. Feeling about what? Oh, that's old news. That happened when I was a chair 2 years ago. Come on, let's find something new to talk about. Good morning, everybody. We're going to get situated here. We'll get started in just a smidgen of a second.
Yeah, you're a minute early.
Oh, and not that early. 8:59. We're a little early this morning because of the snow. That's really what it is.
I know.
Denise, is there any way you can turn these things up a little bit? That's better. Thank you.
I know. It was just a hassle. So, hey, what did you ask? Don't take it. You're not giving any sympathy?
No, I'm not giving you any sympathy this morning.
And I'm like, okay,
All right.
the gatekeeper.
It is now 9 a.m. on Friday, February 15th. We are here for the regular meeting of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County. Call order the meeting. Can I have a roll call, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Christopher Dare.
Here.
Von Hartung.
Present.
Neil Majardin.
Here.
Bob Lucy.
Here?
Amy Cummings.
Here.
Dale Ferguson. Here. And welcome Christina Swallow.
Yes. Good morning, Christina, and we want to extend a warm welcome to the new director of the Nevada Department of Transportation. She is now joining us for our first meeting, and we want a big, warm welcome. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you'll get used to this craziness. I promise. All right, Christina, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Madam Director. All right. So right out the gate, we're going to have our special recognitions. Michael, Mr. Moreno. Good morning, Mr. Moreno. I want to thank everybody for coming out. That I know the snowy weather this morning kind of made it challenging driving. I'm glad everybody got here safe. So, and this is another reason we're talking about being safe on the roads, right, Mr. Moreno?
Hello,
There you go.
I'm here. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It's my pleasure to give recognition to the sponsors of the 2019 New Year's Eve Free Safe Ride Program. Michael Moreno, for the record, RTC Public Affairs Manager. We had a successful New Year's Eve Free Safe Ride this past New Year's Eve holiday. The RTC, through the generous support of our sponsors, Renown Health, Colo 8, Lamar Advertising, Wood Rogers Inc., Club Calneva, REMSA, Maury Distributing, Reno Firefighters Local 731, the RSCVA, and Cumulus Media help people celebrate responsibly on New Year's Eve. This was the 34th year for the program, which provides the community free, reliable, and a safe transportation option to make our roads safe on New Year's Eve. Between 6 p.m. and 2 a.m., 10,175 rides were taken, which represents the highest ever percent increase at 54% throughout the entire years of the program. So we saw an increase in ridership this year, and we were really excited to see that. The New Year's Eve Free Safe Ride Program, which is offered on New Year's Eve and St. Patrick's Day, supports a statewide Zero Fatalities initiative and our Vision Zero Truckee Meadows vision and mission to reinforce awareness of not being an impaired driver or pedestrian, as well as encouraging the public to try transit. Our messaging to promote the free service served to heighten awareness of the risks and dangers of being impaired. Promotion of the free service is accomplished through public service announcements on Colo TV, Cumulus radio stations, and Lamar advertising billboards. The Nevada Department of Transportation also displays a free service on freeway signs, and area major gaming establishments promote the service on their outdoor digital boards. We also boost our outreach and community engagement through RTC's social media channels, supplemented with the support of Washoe County, the cities of Reno and Sparks, and our sponsors who also help promote the free service on their social media channels. On behalf of the RTC board, staff, and our community, I want to thank our sponsors and their representatives who are here with us today, and those that aren't either. All of us can be very proud that RTC Transit Services provided a safe transportation alternative to the public, keeping our roads and everyone safe on New Year's Eve and the early mornings of New Year's Day. Sponsors, please join me when I announce you. And I don't know that all of them made it here because of the driving snow conditions, so some may not be here, but Renown Health, Crystal Herrera. Colo 8, Tom Peterson. Cumulus Media, Joe Francis and John Murphy. Lamar Advertising, Matt Strophus. Wood Rogers Inc., Andy Derling and Mark Casey. Club Calneva, Jeff Seary. REMSA, Monica Tevis. And Bill Baker? Todd Baker. Tyler Baker. And RSCVA, Ben McDonald. Now, not here, I don't believe, are the Reno Professional Firefighters Local 731 or Maury Distributing. So this is the crew that makes it happen with us, and all of them have been with us for more than this past New Year's Eve celebration. So please join me in giving them a round of applause for their support, their partnership, for our appreciation of their sponsorship. Tom Peterson from Colo 8 would like to say a few words, and I invite any other sponsors if they would like to come up as well after Tom. Tom?
Thank you, Michael. Good morning. Colo 8 has been a partner with RTC since May of 2007 and has grown year after year. We are proud to be working in partnership with RTC and to make our roads safer by helping bring awareness to the people in Northern Nevada. One of RTC's new outreach initiatives is Vision Zero. The goal behind Vision Zero is to strive for zero fatalities on our streets and roadways. At Colo 8, we take a commitment to RTC very seriously. This commitment is something that's really dear to our hearts. And when it comes to safety and for the well-being of the individuals in Northern Nevada, Vision Zero will be supported through our Colo Cares program. As in the past, we have aired commercials as well as digital ads to promote safe driving during New Year's Eve as well as St. Patrick's Day. Last year alone, 311 individuals were killed on Nevada roads, which was a devastating loss to all our communities. Along with RTC's new commitment to Vision Zero, we will be airing our texting and driving commercials as well as pedestrian safety combined with the new Don't Kill a Dream commercial. Too many dreams are lost because of the carelessness of our roadways, on our roadways. We are excited to be airing these commercials during and around prominent programs such as the Academy Awards, which is coming up next Sunday on the 24th, plus the local news afterwards. These two on Colo TV, these two areas are the highest rated programs, our news and our Academy Awards throughout this whole year. Colo 8 is passionate about these programs along with the road ahead with RTC. I and the Colo team enjoy working with Michael and Lauren to develop your message to our communities and to our viewers. Our combined commitment to public safety for Northern Nevada will not waver and will help continue to help keep our streets and roadways safe. Thank you for this opportunity, and we sure enjoy being partners with RTC.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. Any other sponsors would like to say a few words? It's okay, you don't have to be shy.
Well, on behalf of the board, and I'll ask Mr. McDonald, Mr. McDonald, come on up. Ben, you spend too much time speaking anyways. Go ahead, though.
Ben McDonald, our CVA. I just want to say thank you for allowing us to be a part of this program. Very important, something that we really enjoy promoting on our social media channels, and also something that's really key for visitors, keeping them safe. Obviously, our first priority is to keep all of our area residents safe, but it's something that when our visitors come to town, they know that they can get to whichever hotel they want to get to safely, and they also know that most of the people who've been partying hard are going to be off the streets with the SAFE program. So thank you, RTC, for running this. It's very important, not just to our community, but also to the visitors that come here. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. If I could just say a couple comments is, you know, I think a lot of the folks that I see up here sponsor a lot of things and are involved in our community in many, many ways. But you know you can walk out of here today knowing that you have saved lives without a doubt. So thank you from the depths of everything we do here at the RTC. Safety is our #1 priority. And it also is an opportunity where riders who maybe have never ridden the bus before get to ride an RTC bus and they discover it's pretty darn cool. So thank you for helping us to get first-time riders on the bus as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Simply put, we couldn't do it without your assistance. We couldn't do it. Plain, pure, and simple. We need those public-private partnerships in order to convey messages and get more people, pun intended, on board So I really appreciate all of the assistance that you give, and we look forward to a robust and greater partnership in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, on behalf of the commission and RTC, we do appreciate your continued support for these programs. As the Madam Vice Chair mentioned, you saved lives undoubtedly. And so we appreciate all the continued support because many of you have supported this program for many, many, many years. And we want to continue to see this go on in the future. So thank you again. One big round of applause for all of our sponsors, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take a photograph with the sponsors, but before we do that, I'd like to bring up two more individuals. They're not a sponsor, but they're definitely a partner with us, and that is representatives from the Nevada Department of Transportation, District 2, Jennifer Baumiller and Tara Smaltz. I'm not sure if they're the ones that program the DMS signs out on freeways, but it sure helps to get the word out that we're offering free rides on New Year's Eve and St. Patrick's Day.
Absolutely.
Jennifer, Tara, can you come up? And if we'll step into the
Yeah.
well, we'll grab a picture.
All right. We'll just stay right here. Yeah. Thanks. Come on, Amy, get in here close.
I'm gonna wear the highest heels I can.
You're not already wearing those?
No, I had last today.
Okay, I'm gonna get you guys in front to kind of get a little tighter.
When you stand sideways, you look thinner too. There you go.
My camera will do that. Okay, ready? Thank you.
I think I blinked.
I'll Photoshop.
Thank you.
Also,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marino, and all those who, that helped so much with that at the New Year's free safe ride. All right, we are on to approval of agenda. I'm looking for a motion.
So
to-
moved.
I have a motion. Do I have
Second.
do I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We are on, and now we're on to public input. This is public comment. Public comment is heard by any individual for topics on or off the RTC agenda. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. At this point, I have two individuals signed in for public comment. First, I have Mr. Carlos Elizondo. Good morning, Carlos.
I just want to mention that you have a major problem on 4th Street Station restrooms with the homeless people sitting on the toilet drinking the vodka and falling asleep on the toilet. So, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Carlos. We'll have staff take a look into that for you. Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Jeff Church.
Morning, folks. Hopefully my little cell phone will last here because I want to read something. Good morning. My name is Jeff Church. I run a website, renotaxrevolt.com, and I do have a handout for you. Hopefully you got it. I attended a recent county meeting, and they said under NRS 371043, there was a proposal to raise our vehicle registration taxes, and the purpose would be, as I call it, enabling the homeless. Now, as I drove here, there's a lot of tow-up roads, and so what I hope you do, if you ever do raise our vehicle registration tax, that it's used for some kind of a transportation purpose. Number two, I continue to prod you to look at a needed trolley system for the area. I never thought I'd say that, but I'm saying it now. Go down to San Diego, where I'm from, and have a look. It's a wonderful trolley system. The third thing, and this is extremely important, is Reno recently set up Nevada's first business improvement district, which I refer to as a BID, the downtown BID. It is run by a 501c6 advocacy group, 501c6, not a charitable group. So my first question, I know you can't always answer, is whether RTC pays an assessment on your downtown property into that 501c6. If you look at their website, which I have pulled here, it says that RTC is a supporter of this 501c6 advocacy political group. Now, after that was formed, in 2018, the U.S. Supreme Court came out with two major cases. One's called Janus, Janus. The other one is Fleck, Fleck. I ask your legal advisor, I ask you to ask your legal advisor to look into this. Under the IRS definition of a 501c6, there must be a common business interest. That's their quote. Now, this 501c6 tax assesses churches, not me personally, government property, condo owners, i.e. somebody on the Montage, and businesses. What is the common and business interest between those entities? There is none, clearly. Now, here's where I read into the, actually from the website, downtownreno.org, the 501c6. Downtown Reno Partnership, $2.35 million budget, covers various services, including additional Reno police officers who have been patrolling the district, but converting City of Reno Special Assessment District into a business district, creating a funding gap for the full cost of these police services. To close the gap, generous supporters of the partnership pledged $625,000 annually for the first 3 years. The remaining costs will be filled with the City of Reno General Fund. Now, General Fund, that definitely concerns me. But number two, when you scroll up, those supporters, it says RTC. Number one, you are denying the people of Neal Road equal protection under the law. You're denying me down South Reno our 14th Amendment rights of equal protection. I'm a retired Reno police sergeant. To me, it is absolutely wrong that we have to support police for the downtown affluent district. Thank you very much.
All right, seeing no further public comment signed in this morning, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. We are on to item 2.2. Accept the monthly summary report for the Technical Citizens Multimodal and Regional Road Impact Fee Advisory Committees. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Hartung, second by Commissioner Jarden. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Moving right along this morning. Madam Director, we are on to our consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that needs to be changed at this time? No? Seeing none. Are there anything that any members would like to pull for further discussion? No? Looking for a motion to accept the consent agenda as proposed.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome, Madam Assistant Director. Mrs. Cummings is filling in this morning, and this is her first time sitting up with us on the dais, and I kind of enjoy it. You know, Lee usually kicks me, so I'm happy that you're here. So, take it away.
Thank you. I would also like to welcome NDOT Director Christina Swallow. We are very excited to be working with you and partnering with you on all of our major projects moving forward. And would like to note that on one of her first days as the new director at NDOT, she did reach out to RTC staff to learn about our priorities, and we really appreciate that. We would also like to congratulate our project manager, Jeff Wilbrecht, and his family on the birth of their son, who was born last Thursday. And here we have a beautiful picture.
Good for Jeff.
This is Jay Lucas, and he was born as 7 pounds and 15 ounces. So we wish them all happiness.
That's awesome.
Yes. And as you know,
Roads and kids at the same time.
the 2019 legislative session has begun, and we're going to be participating in several events there over the coming weeks. February 21st, we'll be giving an overview to the Joint Committee of the Nevada State Senate and Assembly Growth and Infrastructure Committee. That'll be at 1:30 at the Legislative Building in room 3119. On February 22nd, we'll be at Senior Day at the Legislative showcasing our travel training outreach and our regional electric bus, which will be out on the mall. On February 27th, there's an evening reception focused on transportation from 5 to 7. And this is the day before Infrastructure Technology Day, which is February 28th. And we'll have our Lincoln Line bus out on display at the mall there for people to take a look at. And we'll also have displays about projects and innovation inside on the second floor of the Legislative Building from 9 to 4. So hope you can join us for that. Also on the 28th, we'll be giving a presentation to on new transportation technologies to the Joint Committee of Growth and Infrastructure. This is at 1:30 in the Legislative Building in room 3119. And also, another upcoming public meeting on March 1st, we'll be co-sponsoring a meeting with Reno Tahoe Airport Authority about our transportation disparity study that we've partnered with them on. It's about federal disadvantaged business enterprise, DBE programs, which examined the participation of minority and women-owned businesses in public contracts. And finally, at your stations, you'll see copies of our newly printed, the amended version of the Regional Transportation Plan. So that concludes the director report today.
Thank you, Madam Director. I appreciate that report. No, that meeting on the legislative presentation, that's at 1:30 on the 21st, is that correct? February 21st?
That is correct.
Okay. Do we have a room for that?
That is room 3119 in the State Legislative Building in Carson
311.
City.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. All right, we are now on to the federal report. Madam Director, do you have a federal report for us this morning?
Yes, thank you. The full report is in your packets. A couple of the highlights that I wanted to point out is that the government did reopen, and FTA was very expeditious in providing the reimbursements that we had submitted during the shutdown. So that is taken place, and staff at FTA also reached out to us right after the shutdown ended to make sure things are progressing on our Virginia Street project. So we appreciated that. And we're pleased that Congress has approved a budget that would hopefully prevent a partial government shutdown should it be signed later today.
Marvelous. Fantastic. Any questions by any board members at this time? All right. Seeing none, we are moving on to item 4.3. This is the NDOT monthly report. So from Ms. Christina Swallow. Welcome.
Thank you. So this will probably be a little bit different of a report, simply because I just met all of you today. So I thought I would take a minute and introduce myself, give you a little bit of my background, and then I'll try and cover a little bit of NDOT business as it relates to the RTC, but I may not have very much this time. I hope to have more in the future, and I have Cole Mortensen with our team out there in case there's anything that you need to know that I can't answer. So just to start, a little bit of a brief intro on me. I am a practicing civil engineer. I spent 15 years as a consultant in the Las Vegas Valley, including 5 years on my own. I then went to Washington, D.C. and spent 3 years as a transportation policy advisor for a United States senator, and then went back to Vegas and did 5 years in our public works department. So I have a bit of a diverse background for a civil engineer, having done private, public, as well as policy areas. I'm a committed community member. It's all been in Southern Nevada, but very active with our Southern Nevada Bicycle Coalition. I believe strongly in multimodal transportation. I am past president of the American Society of Civil Engineers, the first in 165 years for a global organization from Nevada. So I have a breadth of background that I'm hoping will help me help our agency, which is already doing a really good job, do even a little bit better. I feel strongly that any organization has room to improve, and so I'm looking forward to working with them and identifying the areas, and working with you, identifying those areas that we really need to focus on to help us all build a better transportation system for all of our Nevadans. So the last 2 weeks have been a bit of a trial by fire. I understand this weather is not normal, but I'm learning how to drive in it, and I'm learning and having and developing a much deeper personal appreciation for all of our crews and what they're doing to keep our roads safe and clear. always had that professional appreciation, but I'm learning. And I'm learning the differences between Southern and Northern Nevada much faster than I think I was going to be, thanks to our weather. So just a couple of project highlights. I'm not sure if Rudy told you about the wrong way driving system, pilot system. So that one, we're doing that, and I'm hoping that it will help save lives moving forward. I will be also doing an NDOT 101 on the 21st. So it's the RTCs and NDOT will all be helping our legislators understand our roles, and because I know that's always a big question. What are the differences between the agencies? So we're doing that. I'll be going to Washington, D.C. The last week of February to advocate for some priorities of our organization. One of those is, of course, a long-term funded federal transportation bill. We're coming up on the end of the FAST Act in 2020, so we want to make sure they're working on that sooner than later and we don't have short-term extensions. We want to make sure that they don't, or we're going to ask that they don't, that they repeal the 2020 rescission, because that will affect our ability to improve our roads. We're also going to be asking for them to continue a strong investment in multimodal transportation, and restore the flexibility on our safety funds and increase flexibility on freight funding. So big picture, transportation, how can we make sure that the federal funds are working so we can leverage them best to meet our community's needs? The other thing we're going to be doing while we're back there is we're going to be asking for their support on our infra grants, one of which is the I-80 from Vista to USA Parkway. So there's two others. There's one on 93, climbing lanes, and then Tropicana interchange down in Las Vegas. So with that, I think I'll wrap up and just say it's really good to be here, and I'm really looking forward to meeting with you, understanding with you what your concerns are. I can imagine that they're similar, but I can also imagine that they're different from the ones that I know of from down south. So I'm looking forward to working with you and really building a system that works for everyone.
Well, Director Swallow, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you and having a long, long relationship as you continue to grow with NDOT. And we've had a wonderful relationship over the years, and we want to continue that. Obviously, our priorities here maintain is, as you've pointed out, is the Spaghetti Bowl, and that has been a major priority for us, and will continue to be. I was elated to hear that the NDOT and the airport could come to a resolution in regards to the flyovers for the southbound flyovers into the airport. So that's fantastic that program that was able to be worked out and no challenges there. So look forward to working with you and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Mr. Dare, I'm sorry.
Yes, I want to say welcome as well from City of Sparks. I'm a city councilman there. And I definitely want to just show support for your Instagram portion of what you're talking about on Vista down to USA Parkway. So if you need anything from us, if something we can even give a letter of recommendation showing that you have city backing you, those kind of things, we very much care. I also will just always add in there, statewide, I would love for us not to be the only one caring about it as much. I feel that Story County should be caring about that, and I'm happy to put that on the record coming from Christopher Dare over at City Sparks. So would you please just share that? However, I think it's crazy you can put something like that in place without any responsibility to help make sure it works for everybody. So I don't believe they're looking at it that way. So thanks.
Thanks.
Commissioner Arton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I, too, would like to formally welcome you, Ms. Swallow. I'm looking forward to a good working relationship. Just some primers of places that in District 4 that I represent for Washoe County. Pyramid Highway will be a topic of conversation that I'm hoping that we can have with I don't know who your deputy director ultimately is going to be. I don't know whether you've announced that yet. But I
put her on the spot.
No, it's good. Bill and Tracy are the deputies. So.
Bill and Tracy are the deputies. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. That's because I know Bill for sure knows a lot of what's going on, so he'll be able to fill in a lot of those gaps. But we look forward to having that conversation. Of course, not in my district, 395 North. That's going to be a fun spot. I don't know whether Commissioner Lucy's going to bring up Mount Rose Highway, but there's a number of places that we look forward to having some robust conversations regarding safety and mobility in those areas. Thank you.
Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you very much. And I too want to welcome you here to Northern Nevada with the Wolf Pack.
That's right.
Go Pack.
Damn.
Hey, you have to jump right in.
Game day Saturday.
Game day Saturday. Okay. I did want to say, while I've not had the pleasure of interacting with you personally and knowing you before today, the feedback I've received so far on you has been tremendous. And the thing that encouraged me most is that you are meeting with staffs to understand the issues. And to me, they sit here and work with us and have for years, so they know where the hot issues are, where the potholes are, literally, and they know what our priorities are. So I was very encouraged when I heard that that's where you have been spending a lot of your time was with staff, so, which they are the wealth of knowledge, and they know where our pulse is, so welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, yeah, and just one other thing, Christina, one thing I did want to point out, as Commissioner Hartung did, it is very, very important that you've met with staffs, you've talked with staff, and I think that's the most important thing going forward, is to find out really what those challenges are. But as it pertains to the certain issues, such as Pyramid Highway, such as the North Valley, such as Mount Rose Highway, which lies right in the heart of our district, where it is a state highway amongst a mass of county and city land that our residents utilize day in and day out. And if it is not properly maintained, or the safety environment is not what it needs to be to maintain those, it makes it very challenging for us to grow as municipalities and as a county, and provide those safe and secure communities in which we strive for every day. And as we talk about safety, those are those kind of discussions we want to continue to have with NDOT, is make sure that we make those priority number one, not only for RTC, but also for NDOT as we move forward. So if we could have, we'll sit down in future discussions and have those if we can. So, all right, thank you. Any further comments at this time? I think we usually beat Rudy up for a good 30 minutes, and so it's, we're not taking it easy on you, obviously, this morning. So, but thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being here. All right, we have moved through item 4. We are on to item 5, public transportation opportunities. So 5.1, acknowledge receipt of report on proposed microtransit pilot project. Mrs. Director.
Thank you. This is an update on where we are on our microtransit pilot project. We are going to be bringing this to you next month for a service change, pending your input today. We've done quite a bit of community outreach and have gotten very positive feedback to date on this service concept. And Mark Maloney is going to be telling us the details.
Good morning, thank you. Chairman, member of the commission, as you mentioned, Mark Maloney, Transit Operations Manager. I know we've brought this a couple times in the past year, but we're now getting very close. Next month, we're hoping to come with the actual public service change. So we wanted to kind of go back through, just get everyone kind of remember what those previous presentations, what microtransit is, and then where we're headed with some specifics of how we are shaking out the program. Feel free to stop me at any point and ask questions, kind of a working group kind of thing. Basically what microtransit is a Uber Lyft type operation for the public transit world. It's like that in the sense we look to get a ride. You can use your smartphone with an app. You can use a tablet with an app. Unlike Uber Lyft, we actually will have a computer website, so people from their house can actually click in and request a ride, and then also by actual landline or cell phone call into our reservations. This will be provided by our access provider. Therefore, they have a full reservations area, so it makes it so there's a live body there for them to call and they can pop in the reservation. And then one other area that we've added is we'll have a walk-up. So if someone wants to walk up, a driver can actually add them to the itinerary and put them on the service and get them to where they want to go as well. Basically, microtransit, unlike Uber Lyft, is a specific zone. We have selected for our first 6-month demonstration Northeast downtown Sparks area, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. We have a slide that shows you kind of the area of that is. The same day booking, real-time information, is kind of a plus, especially since this overlaps. So any of our customers can ride this. So an Access customer or just anybody who's interested can use this service. So unlike Access, you have to book a day in advance. This they can just book live. And this is, again, provided by our Access provider. So it's actually Access vehicle that has 3 wheelchair positions. Drivers are trained for our Access riders, so they can handle all customers, and it should give a new flexibility. And on another plus is the fare that we're going to provide on this is the same as our fixed route fare. So it's much cheaper than Access, and they can use any of the fixed route passes or their mobile app using Token Transit. Again, the service is curb to curb. Do you have a question?
I do, actually.
That's great.
Thank you. I just need permission from my chair, so. So real quick on this. I know, I was just giving you a hard time. But when it comes to this zone, one of our concerns a little bit is on Route 2526 that you're looking at. If you pull that away and you stop doing that, are you minimizing our reach to our ADA access? You know, there's a zone that has to go out. We're very concerned about that, so we don't mind. We love that you're doing something in Sparks, and we want to see that expand. But we're looking at you going out farther, not in farther. So can you explain and make sure your reach is not unreaching us?
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good question, Commissioner. Actually, during this 6-month pilot, it actually expands the ADA area. So we are going to allow the ADA area to be the complete zone. And actually, I'll pop up a couple slides and we'll drop back. So in this black box, you can see where the 26, the line goes out to Nevada Medical Center, and then the 25 goes up around Reed High School. Basically, right now, it's 3/4 of a mile within that, and the 26 runs much later and runs on Sunday, where the 25 doesn't. It runs earlier and not on Sundays. So since we're doing microtransit in this complete zone, which expands up to above Bering, all the way down to the freeway, to pick up all that whole Vista area, ADA is now, access is available for a greater span area and a span of day and weekends. So it actually enhances that. Plus, they can use this service instead on same day. So instead of booking for the next day, so basically they get a bonus. They get more service on the next day if they're sticking with access, or as we think a lot of them will, because of the same day aspect of it and the lower fares, I think a lot of them will migrate over to the microtransit.
I do like that, but you did mention 6 months. So what happens after the 6 months?
6 months, if this does not go well, we'll be putting 25, 26 back.
Okay.
And then if it does go well, we'll be going out for a bid because the software and operating contract we have with Transloc, which I'll talk to in a bit, will end, and we have to have someone else provide, or they can bid and might be the provider for that software.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Hartown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, I've gotten calls from non-ADA riders of specifically Route 25, and they're concerned now that that route's going to go away, and so how will that affect just our regular ride customers?
That's a wonderful question as well. And we actually did a survey, and I have a little bit of survey data. We surveyed every trip of the 25, 26. But what it does is it kind of just changes the mindset. So right now, the 25, 26 each run on 1 hour headways. So right now, you have to really watch your schedules and time it. What this allows is we're going to break down and we're going to create just a Route 25 between Centennial Plaza and Iron Horse. We're going to, instead of that being between the two right now, it's about 30-minute frequency. That's going to come down to be only a 20-minute frequency. So service in that core of Prater will actually be improved. So people who are using that portion of the line will actually have a better service. And then on the other side of that, in the microtransit area, all of the area that currently is served by there, plus the new area will all have the microtransit, which is service that depending on how many riders we start out getting, could be between, for 95% of people, I think it's 12 minutes. If we have about 100 riders, and if we get about 200 riders, it's about a 13-minute wait and ride time. So from when you select it, you'll have a bus there, worst case scenario, in 13 minutes, and it'll take you anywhere within that zone, or it'll take you to Centennial Plaza and drops you off so you can transfer into anything else.
So non-ADA members can also use
It's
microtransit? It's for everybody?
This is for
Okay, because
everybody.
there was
Sorry
a-
for that clarity.
No, it's okay. And I wanted to get this on the record because it was a huge concern for them that they
right.
felt like, look, I'm not an ADA rider, I don't require any assistance, and they felt like that route was going away.
Oh, good
I'm
point.
very much looking forward into broaching out into Spanish Springs because we do have some facilities out there that people would be very interested in getting to, specifically the DeVita Dialysis Center that's over on Vista. And so I'm hoping that at some point we'll have more of a micro transit route that gets out into that valley, especially to serve the Galleria, because I think a lot of people would use that route. And I know that there's been a question over the years. I've been suggesting this long before I was elected. In fact, I was served on the Citizens Advisory Board when I first made the recommendation. I believe that if we start pushing out into Spanish Springs, and by the way, we now serve, Washoe County now serves seniors meals out at the Lazy Five Center. So I would love to sit down with you and try to figure out how we can come up with some type of a transit option for them.
You know, the urban sprawl is something that is very much a challenge. It's a funding challenge. We were able to do this demonstration by taking the savings out of 25 and 26 and putting in and operating that. Obviously, back in October, you approved the 75% Washoe Senior Taxi Subsidy Program, which has been very helpful for Spanish Springs and North Valleys, those areas that we don't have any other service, so that people can get that lifeline, cost-affordable type service, which has gone through the roof and has been very successful. So we know the demand's out there for unique transportation services.
The only thing that I would caution you to is when I first moved to town, South Reno was urban sprawl.
Right.
So it's having lived in the same house for 32 years, it's not sprawl anymore. We're pretty darn close to the center of town, and it's just that we really need to start stepping up to the plate a little more, Mark, and start serving those folks who would be customers for us out in Spanish Springs.
No,
Thank you,
appreciate
Mr.
that.
Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dare.
So just real quick on communication of this, I'm sure you have a big plan that's going to be perfect and everyone home, but I do want to also invite you to City Council. This would be a very important thing that you could just share in a presentation and make sure we get the word out before we move forward.
Yeah, no, we'd love to. And actually, as I kind of kick.
Am I cutting you off here?
No, it's
Sorry.
great. And this is what I was hoping for, because
Yeah.
this is our opportunity to kind of talk and then refine before we come back next month for the actual public hearing and get approval on this. So it's perfect. Some of the areas that we kind of want to talk about, and as you pointed out, the getting to City Council is also our marketing program. So when we did this, we contracted with a firm called Transloc. And Transloc is a complete package where they helped us on the planning side. They have modeling software that was able to identify kind of the demand and needs. They have a marketing plan with this. Of course, they have the app, and then they actually help us train and start the operations of the service for the 6-month demonstration. So, part of that outreach, once we kind of at that point, it'd be great to hit the city councils, and we'll have pamphlets that'll have the direct number, how people use it and such. So the more information we can get out, the better. So we'll definitely fold that into their marketing plan and working with our marketing staff.
Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you very much. So I have some regular bus route passes and I have some access bus passes. I don't know if any of those, because I give them to individuals at our shelters and at the Eddie House and that sort of thing. I don't know if anybody would ever use over in Sparks, but they may. Can they use those for this?
Yep. Yeah, so any of the existing ride passes that you have.
So it doesn't matter which one you have, you just,
It could be a day
okay.
pass, it could be a week pass, monthly pass, it doesn't
You
matter.
can-
Any of
they
the
can use
ride
it.
ones can use that.
And they can check this new
Yep.
micro, okay,
Exactly.
perfect, thank you.
And with the link to the Lincoln line from basically, 4th Street
Kinda
Station
makes
to
sense.
CP, and then they can get a direct shot to them if they need to go to Nevada Hospital. They can go straight from from Centennial Plaza to the hospital.
Great, thank
And
you.
use that pass. Let's
All right.
see, what haven't we touched? Let's see, kind of as we talked about, the the two areas that we did model and had looked at by Transloc was the 2526 that we've been talking about, and then the Route 17 North Valley area. The two modeled very similar, and both of them we had the trade-off where we were able to pull back some service, so it's low enough productivity service that it made sense cost-effective wise. And the difference maker really is why we did the 2526 first, is that there's no hub really to tie the 17 in the North Valley to. On the 2526, we can quickly move people and get them to Centennial Plaza and get them into the system. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a hindrance on 17, but we're going to learn from 2526 and see how important that piece is before we kind of move forward and start really working hard on the 17 area. Let's see, we already talked about that. And the other transfer point is actually at Iron Horse. So where the 2526 will now be on a 20-minute frequency, if any access or any general public, any rider wants to transfer from that zone and ride the 2526, they can also do it at the shopping center there. As we talked about, Route 25 will be this new 20-minute frequency. It'll go to the Iron Horse. It'll also be live, and we'll actually serve on to Howard once more, like we did in the past. We're also doing an AM and a PM trip to Reed High School. We didn't want the peak of the students impacting the microtransit, so we kept that as a separate. So an AM trip and a PM trip will still continue to go to Reed High School, and then the rest of the route will be on a 20-minute frequency through the day and the weekend. We did, again, with the help of Transloc, we did some modeling, and this is where we kind of see our times. What we're guessing is somewhere north of 100 riders a day in kind of the starting up and getting up to 200 rides, we hope, pretty quickly. And that's where I mentioned the wait time and ride times around 100 is about 10 minutes. So when you pop it into your phone and you start seeing the vehicle come, it should be there within 10 minutes. It'll tell you how soon. You get to watch it come there. Once you're on the vehicle, it will actually tell you you're the next stop, and so you know that you'll know where to get off and when to get off. And then when you do your repeat return trip, it does the same action on that. As you can see, 5% of the riders, there's a kind of 95% fall into the 10-minute or 13-minute ride time, and then 5%, if it's really, both vehicles are really busy and tight or pulled from a far area, there could be as much as a 20 or 30-minute wait as the far side of it. With the modeling on the two vehicles, we kind of saw the spread of the day. Obviously, vehicle one will get the primary of the work. Vehicle two will get the kind of leftover side of it. But you'll see really a midday and a early or late afternoon, early evening is really where we're seeing on the modeling that the peak is going to happen. And then, as we talked about a little bit on kind of moving forward on the public involvement, we can kind of look back. We brought this around with our October 2018 service change and brought it out to the public and the media. We had 11 public outreach events. So we actually had very good coverage and a lot of information on that. And then just last month, we did an open house at Centennial Plaza and at 4th Street Station on the 20th and 29th, which were very successful. So we are doing our best to get it out. We monthly have our transit planner and scheduler go out to our 4th Street Station and talk to customers, and this has been one of the conversation points that people have asked about. So it's been good. It's out there in people's mind. And as I mentioned, we did run a survey on Route 2526 of all the trips, and it was actually very helpful because we were actually, when we were doing the surveys, we were able to talk to a lot of our customers and let them know. And the survey results were very positive. Only 9% of the customers were unfavorable towards microtransit. And surprisingly, out of all of our riders, 77 currently carried a smartphone. So that's a high percentage for the smartphone side of it. So obviously, you can use a regular phone and call in, but the smartphone, as anyone who's used Uber or Lyft, is really a really nice perk to watch your vehicle come, where it is, how soon, get those notifications, and when your stop is and such. I think that's about it that I have there, but I can gladly answer many more questions.
Great, Mark. Thank you so much for the presentation. Are there any other questions from the board? I think they covered everything, and what a great presentation. All right, I'm looking for a motion to accept the presentation or the receipt of the report.
Approve?
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, we're on to item 5.2. This is to approve the recommendation to award the contract to Keolis Transit Services LLC for 4 years plus 2 3-year options for the operations and maintenance of RTC Ride Fixed Route Service and authorize the executive director to finalize the contract. All right, at this time, Mrs. Director, you want to take us into this?
Thank you. We appreciate the input from this board over the last year and the criteria for this procurement. We've followed the process identified in the RFP, and we have a recommendation of Keolis Transit Services to receive this. So today we have the recommendation to award, and we will bring a contract back to you at a future meeting.
Next month.
And we have Mark Maloney and Jennifer Myers here to go over more of the details.
Mr. Maloney, Mrs. Myers, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman, members commission. Again, Mark Maloney, Transit Operations Manager, and
Jennifer Myers, Contract Administrator.
Jennifer is the project manager on this. As Ms. Cummings pointed out, we are here to recommend award for our ride on the operations and maintenance contract. We basically into this timing because our contract expires June 30th, 2019. We have utilized every option available, so we are completed with the contract term, and FTA requires RTC to procure a new. And so about a year ago, we started down that road, and we worked closely with the board and had our kind of board priorities of things we wanted to adjust, improve, lessons learned from our previous contracting, and areas that we needed definitely improvements in. So we, about a little over a year ago, it started when we brought UNR's Center for Economic Research to update pretty much our likely workforce on our drivers, retention and maintenance, and had quite a good report. Good report being good, that was very in-depth, but the outlook was not as bright as the economy had started rolling really strong here, and it had given us a lot of difficulties with our hiring and retention. So we definitely wanted to have a focus on that. We wanted to focus on customer service. We have a very large electric fleet now of 21 vehicles, so the management of that and keeping that operating and maintained properly, improving in labor relations so we can provide better service and retention, and of course our bus stop maintenance, which is always something that we can do better. As you can see, we had a robust communication with the board. We came quite often and got a lot of direction and really came through with those improvement areas that we really were able to incorporate into the RFP. And the other side of that was really to reach out to our industry. So who was out there, who is interested, and who would come and talk to us and talk about where we had our areas of improvement and how we could help draft and build that RFP so that those areas could be addressed and give us our best chance of coming through there. And we had 7 individual industry review meetings, which were very productive. It worked out well. We got great feedback. I think we had a great product out on the road because of it. And surprisingly enough, all 7 of them actually did come through and bid on that. The RFPs that addressed those issues was really focusing on retaining staff. We added some new leadership positions to improve customer service, the hiring and retention, and leveraging our technology. We basically kept the wage scale that was implemented in late July because it had been very successful in retaining and hiring quality staff. And then we added some reopeners for specific unforeseen challenges after the base 4 years of those issues of economic or facility or propulsion of vehicles, maintenance, technology type areas. We did take a more of a landlord role over the facility by lowering the dollar threshold to ensure repairs are not deferred. And then we reduced the a number of LDs from 24 to 9 to focus on really those quality things that we could get our hands around and make sure the service is at the high quality. We also added specific incentives to really encourage our new contractor to exceed our expectations. We added an extensive Canadian Urban Transportation Associates Transit Ambassador Customer Training Program to it. So all of that kind of rolled into the RFP from everything we learned. The evaluation criteria focus heavily on solving our improvement objectives, with it being highly weighted on the technical qualification and price being only at 10%. So we really knew these are the areas that we wanted to fix and improve on, and this is how we could help use this tool to get there. And like I said, all 7 of them, the proposals actually proposed, made the October 31st deadline, and then we were able to move on to the actual bidding portion of it. So when we actually went through and reviewed each of those, we had a 6-person RTC team made up of engineering, finance, and public transportation. RTC's CFO did an in-depth review of each price proposal and compared them to the independent cost estimate. And then we produced final scores, which were tallied and unanimously did a recommendation to our executive director. And it ended up being a very strong unanimous vote. They clearly won every category by every rater, so it was a clear success. The other 6 all had very good proposals, and they all were pretty much grouped together with good proposals, but Keolis did that step above everybody else in every category. Yep, thank you. They also were the only company that was within the 5% of the independent cost estimate, which resulted in them getting the highest score for price as well. And kind of the highlights of Keolis and where it kind of came through very strong was their approach to recruiting and retention a workforce, which included innovative programs and community engagement with local organizations such as the Nevada Job Connect, Career College of Northern Nevada, Reno Area Alliance for the Homeless, and a mixture of just bringing in open communication, willing to adjust schedules to help our employees, incentive programs, and a willingness to explore even employee housing programs. So just a very extensive area that we really appreciated them coming through that strong on. They obviously took our lead on the Trans Ambassador program, but they also are linking that with their Keolis Thinking Like a Passenger philosophy and Cash First Miles program to making a very comprehensive approach. So it should really help us move that needle on the customer service side. And then we have a lot invested in technology, and what was nice is Keolis saw that technology and that reporting data, and they're going to build a visualization room which will focus on using data and business intelligence for all employees to quickly see and understand where the quality of service is at, what role employee plays, how to make improvements, and showing that progress. So we're here today to ask for approval for recommendation for award. This is a 4-year base term with 2 3-years, and it's for obviously Keolis Transit Services LLC and for the ride fixed route, and that's the operations and maintenance of it. And we'd like you to approve and authorize the director to negotiate the contract. And then, as was mentioned early, March 15th, board meeting will be coming back with that contract.
Hold on one second, Commissioner. And before we open up for discussion by the commission, I do have public comments. I want to take public comment really quick, and then we'll bring it back for further discussion. Thank you, Mr. Maloney. I have Sandy Hill signed in. Sandy.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much. My name is Sandy Hill. I'm with Keolis, and really I just wanted to thank you on behalf of the entire Keolis organization for this opportunity. We are really thrilled to be a part of this community, and I think we can do great things in partnership together. And I would be remiss if I didn't welcome you, Ms. Swallow. We have a deep appreciation for the state of Nevada and the partnerships we've been able to forge throughout the state. I have with me today Abul Hassan, our general manager, who will be here locally overseeing this project and working in partnership with the RTC. So Abul.
Thanks, Sandy. Pretty much covered all the bases. I am just glad to be here, and we are very excited for this opportunity to continue to work and make the city a better place.
Sir, can you state your name for the record?
Abul, A-B-U-L, Hassan.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hassan. Thank you, Ms. Hill. Appreciate it. All right, I'll bring you back to the board. We have no further public comment signed in at this time. So, Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mark, I don't think it's any secret. We're looking forward to a change because we could not continue to do business in the path or taking the path that we had taken. And my biggest concern, of course, and I'm glad you touched on these points, is employee retention and keeping that on-time schedule, because people who ride fixed routes, they depend on that time schedule. Doesn't matter so much, believe it or not, that it's a little bit late within that flex time. Cannot be early, obviously, and we don't want it too late where people who depend on it, especially for work transportation, that you know they're late to their jobs. The other question that I have is, how soon are we going to do a customer survey to let people tell us how they're actually doing?
Yeah,
What's the plan for that?
That's actually very good. Two very good questions. On the retention, you're 100% correct. The current contract didn't really allow for the adjustments. The adjustments that our current contractor did make in July were very successful, slow but successful. But it brought having enough drivers to operate the service in January, plus all the changes we did on the schedules in October, actually made January I think we were only 4% late for the month on average, which was, we weren't that good since January 2012. So you're spot on. If we have the proper schedules and we have the proper employees who like what they're doing and they're coming to work, we can achieve that on-time performance. So we hope to continue to move that bar forward with this. On to the second side of that. Let's see, where were we on that? The survey, yes. We are looking at budgeting, because we're also looking at the layout of the network itself, and are we at the right places with the right routes and so on. So we are hoping to budget this coming year for an onboard survey. So that would put the two pieces together, get the quality of service, what our customers think and what they suggest, along with knowing a little bit more of the origin destination to say, okay, are we taking people a little out of their way to get to their trip, or is there a better way to serve it? Are we serving the right areas and the right customers the right way? So we'll be putting that into this year's budget.
And look, and I recognize this. We're never, with fixed routes, you're never going to serve people exactly where they want to go.
Correct.
You know, some are going to be totally thrilled, some are never going to be thrilled, and I mean, we just have to come to, some middle point. But the more often we do customer surveys, I'd love to see an app where they can rate, and some people are always going to berate the system. It's just the nature of it. But when you cull out the sort of highs and cull out the lows, and then you come to that sort of middle ground, you can really see what kind of a job we're actually doing and how can we potentially make changes, so that we can better serve the customers.
Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that survey with the new company and just to make modifications.
Yeah, and the other plus with the proposal, they do have a secret rider program on this contract as well. So
secret
we will
shopper.
get some, so we'll get some instant feedback along
Did
with
I
their
get an
overall
email from you guys the other day to be a secret shopper?
service. That's probably from Sandy.
Kidding. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. Commissioner Dare.
Yes, so, and looking at this, is a 10-year contract, is that?
Yes, up
So
to
10 years. And then my question is similar to his with accountability. What do we have in place? That's a long time, and I'm sure they're going to be fantastic and never not do what they said. But everyone says really nice things when we start a lot of contracts. And so how do we, what's in here to hold them? And maybe this is a conversation that's already been had, I don't know. Wasn't here last round. And, but what do we have at 6 months? We get to come back, evaluate? Is this a constant? Do we get to keep coming back and walking with them? Is there any out for this contract if they're not doing what we want? And that
Mr. Maloney, before you answer that, I want to just put something on the record just to make some clarity. Commissioner Dare, the actual contract is a 4-year base contract with 2 3-year extensions. So it's an option for 10 years, but it's only a 4-year contract for the base
Thank you.
contract.
Okay.
So just to be very clear, with 2 3-year options, makes it a potential
does-
10 years.
That does sound better.
Does that sound better? So they're not locked in for 10 years.
I look at this.
They're not locked in for 10 years
Thank
for
you,
2.
Chairman.
You're
A lot
welcome.
of 10 years
Just
of
so we get some
consistency.
clarity there. Just some clarity
Thank you.
there. But now
Thank you.
Mr. Maloney.
But there is, as you mentioned, there is an out for us. So if it does go south and they're not, living up to the contract terms, we have an out clause on that. We also, as I mentioned, we have strong liquidated damages and incentives for them. So they'll have a reason to do, either penalty or perks of what they've been asked to do. So between those tools, I think we can, provide a good quality service. And as the chair pointed out, after that 4-year, there's actually reopeners. So if we can do it, or actually the contractor can do reopeners that are for major changes that no one can foresee.
So everyone who's employed now with this other group just chooses to come over to this group kind of idea, and then they find more? Do
Right.
they have some pool, a magical pool, to have extra drivers?
Surprisingly, they're one of the few that do. Their Las Vegas contract is actually overstaffed right now, which is extremely, extremely rare in the nation. And they are going to, depend on where we're falling on how many of our current employees, we hope all of them come over. And then plus they do have a little larger driver pool that's in this proposal. So they'll try to, recruit locally. And they've got some very good programs to do that. But if necessary, they also are going to open up to the Las Vegas. The wage differential is quite significant. It's starting about $3 more an hour here than it is in Las Vegas. So we feel like many of them could be very interested in coming this direction. But obviously, we want to give our local a chance. Not with our economy up here.
All right, Commissioner Jordan. Thank you, Commissioner Dare.
Thank you very much. So will the drivers of, under this new contract, will they be the same drivers that will do the microtransit?
Oh, no, Microtransit is under our paratransit contract.
So that's a totally different,
Exactly, and the
Okay.
reasons, I think I touched on a few, but the reason really for that is they have a reservation. They're the ones that actually have the access vehicles we're going to use, and the drivers are trained to handle access customers and
Okay.
general public.
I
So
was
they
just
were
trying
better.
to see, because we're really pushing the sort of the app usage, and if there was some type of a kind of a rate my ride sort of thing, which could tie to the customer service
very good point.
feedback with this new contract. Very excited in a very tight labor market, getting creative with how you attract, reward, and retain your employees is critical. We've seen the deficits of doing that here, so I'm excited about that. I want to make sure our long-term drivers benefit from that as well, because they've stuck with us and done great things for many, many years. So I want to make sure that they don't get pushed to the back because we're trying to attract the new and reward the new. So very excited for this, looking forward to it. But I too would like to see, a 1-year check-in, with what flexibilities we have within the contract. If there's something identified in the next 12 months that comes through a customer survey or just general feedback, that we can all sit down and have an off-ramp to talk about that.
No, we can definitely bring it back in a year, and we can say how we're doing, how we're tracking.
I think it's
and
important to have
we could
an
definitely do that.
update and see where we're at. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan. And I have to share the sentiments of the other commissioners, is that, I'm encouraged that from early discussions, once this was published and based upon the outcome of today's vote, that Keolis has been willing to immediately get out and have conversations, not only with our staff at RTC, but also with a number of the union members and the drivers and different individuals to have those discussions about needs and really work on that retention. This has been a big challenge for us for quite some time, for many years, that we haven't had that ability, and we have had some sort of disconnect between our operator and our workforce to make sure that there are concurrencies. And it's been important that that this has been one of Keolis's primary goals going forward, is that not only retaining the drivers and workforce that are currently with our current operator, but also new recruitment and finding that recruitment and what's important to that new workforce. So that's important. But we want to watch this, and as Commissioner Jardin and Vice Chair Jardin pointed out, this is something that we cannot let go by and slide, because I do not want to get into a situation where we were 12 months ago having those discussions about missed rides, missed routes, off times, and just, sorry, nothing we can do about it. You know, I was driving home the other night and saw an individual waiting at a ride bus stop in the rain, and, you know, expecting to sit there and wait for a bus that you expect to be there on time, and for whatever reason, because an operator cannot provide staffing adequately or whatever that may be, or make sure that a bus is adequately ready for transit, that's unacceptable to allow our citizens to sit there that depend on that transportation. You know, I was sitting warm, comfortable in my car, and this individual in a wheelchair was covered in a hoodie. And had I had the ability, I would have gone back and got this individual and taken him where we needed to go. But we need to do a better job, and it's imperative that this new operator understand that. And I think Keolis has shown that that's in Mrs. Hill and Mr. Hassan, I appreciate your attendance today, because this is something that we are very, very, we're going to hold to, and it's important to us. So moving forward, we look forward to those future conversations and those check-ins periodically. So, all right. Without any further discussion, I'm looking for a motion to accept the proposal.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Hartung.
Much needed advance for the organization. Move to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Jardin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Keolis. All right, we are on to item 6.1. Mrs. Cummings.
This is an update on our Virginia Street Rapid Transit Extension. It's our monthly progress report. And we'll be talking about construction that's out there today, as well as answering some of the questions and having more discussion on the stations. Bring that back from the discussion last month. And Brian Stewart is here with additional information.
Mr. Stewart, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Brian Stewart, Director of Engineering. All right, so because Jeff has a new baby, welcome at home. You guys get to listen to me at the Virginia Street Rapid Extension Project update. So currently the utility project is ongoing. We're scheduled to complete mid-March. I look at that and look at the weather, and February has not been nice to us in the construction world. So that is getting pushed off, but we plan for this, and we might be at the end of March and early April as far as that actual finish. But like I said, we plan for it to have that gap between the utility phase and our roadway construction phase. We're continuing, in fact, exciting news that we got the 100% design. That is being reviewed by RTC and the City of Reno right now. Comments will be made, incorporated, and then the plans developed to give to the CMAR contractor for issuance of a GMP and the negotiations to begin on that. We continue to work with FTA on the project. We had a PMOC meeting of just the other day. Things are going well. RTC has submitted all the documentations as required, and we're waiting for review from the PMOC and FTA to move us forward. A little bit more into the details of this. The Tumwa work is really what's going on, and the stormwater work is going on right now, or abandoning old lines that are out there from Tumwa, and that is a significant effort. And the Cochran Ditch, we're doing a lot of work on that, and continuing to make those crossings and work going on. Outreach activities have been going on. We went on January 22nd. We had an event, Good Morning Community, and a big thank you event, and it was at Jelly Donuts, where we gave free donuts and coffee away. I think there was 22 dozen or so given out, and it was a great event, being able to see the community support the corridor and the businesses there. So because we gave donuts in January, we need to get fit in February. So fit in February is happening, and the RTC team is working on that. It's just encouraging the businesses that are health and wellness to us, and appreciating them in the corridor, and continue to support that by using your hashtags and being entered into a contest for gift cards. So Amy did discuss that we wanted to talk and look a little bit at the BRT station updates. What you're looking on the screen right here is the north part of our project. So north of 9th Street or 8th Street on North Virginia in the university section. And those stations will be large, and they'll match a lot of the university's architecture that they have as far as the brickwork and whatnot, but the size there. And the graphic at the bottom shows the roundabout that's going to be there at Lawler Event Center. In the Midtown section, we have 2 stations that we're looking at. There's the one at Regency, which is at the north end of the Midtown, right by the, got it backwards there. At the south end of town, there's an AutoZone that's right there. And then at the north end is the Liberty Station in front of the bank there. And you can see some renderings of what we've moved forward with, in the sense that, the BRT was an extension, and we were matching the branding that was out there, but with a lighter touch. And so we've been asked to look at these designs and whether we can make them a little bit more pleasing and architectural type of look to them. And there are some things that have to remain for, obviously, to have these stations, including the raised platform, obviously the seating areas. They are going to be a little bit smaller, tread a little lightly in Midtown because of just the overall project is shrinking the lanes and really becoming a walkable, bikeable area. And so they're going to be only the 32-foot long structure and with the 43-foot-long platform. Obviously, we want the solar to be green and to make sure our environmental footprint is small. And then again, the waiting area for people in covered areas. So we've looked at some things and some ideas of what can and can't we do with respect to, dressing up these. I know the fourth Prater, which you see in the slide at the bottom there, is looks nice, and we've got all kinds of compliments with respect to those stations. So we want to explore this for these 2 stations on what we maybe can do with color options, some metal, glass, maybe floating art type of thing. This will maybe actually provide a little bit of a wind block for some of our patrons, and we can still want to be able to see through. What's unique about the Midtown area is that, behind the sidewalk is what, are the businesses and the colorful people that are there and that kind of stuff. So we don't want to have the stations blocking that. And then we may need to do some structural changes, but we're hoping that we can just make these look a little bit more beautiful without expending a whole bunch of time and cost to get there. And just something we have to continue to think about as we do dress up our stations. We do have to think and be mindful of maintenance, and that these things do cost to maintain. And when we buy into them for early on the life of the project, we will be always taking care of them. So there is a cost that comes to that. So trying to keep it short and sweet, but open up for any questions and conversations with respect to the Virginia Street update.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. I appreciate it. I got to say, first off, thank you to Ms. Cummings and staff for continuing to have those discussions about, as it pertains to the aesthetics of the Virginia Street project. We talk about this is important, the importance of our thoroughfares, especially the 4th Street Prater as historic as it was Highway 40. But Virginia Street in its own right is just as historic, being that it was one of the first roads in our community before a city was a city, before the county was the county. So we have a responsibility as as public servants up here to make sure that heritage remains and stays consistent. And I think as Midtown continues to grow and that Virginia Street and on our university area, all are very important areas within our community. We have to honor them at the same time as remaining that sticking with our heritage and the importance of these roads. And just to put drab, run-of-the-mill aesthetics throughout that project doesn't make any sense. Now I understand if we're going to put it up on the corner of Robb and 7th Street, that's a different scenario. It's a new area, no big deal. But these are iconic roads, and these are roads that many of our community travel every day. This is when, serving as the chairman of the RSCVA, when our visitors come to town, this is the road that they walk upon. This is the area that they travel. And to miss this mark and not do this right the first time when we have this opportunity, and just to fly by it, would be a travesty for all of us and for many years to come, for many future boards. So we have a duty to make sure that this gets done right, and a responsibility to make sure this gets done. We did it with 4th Street Parader. I do not want to see this be lapsed when it comes to the Virginia Street project. It's so important. So those are my comments going forward. So I'm excited that you guys are working on this, and I look forward to what that comes to the future. Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you very much. And I too am thankful that staff kind of have pumped the brakes on a few things so that we can look at some of the, as I call them, the finishes. I hate to say that RTC kind of spoiled us on 4th Prater, but you kind of spoiled us on 4th Prater. And now the standard sort of bus stop just, particularly with the most important street in our entire region, Virginia Street, the finishes can't be more overstated. And I kind of feel like the bus stops are an opportunity to interject maybe some color where other things have been on a palette of grays and rightfully so, I think, for maintenance and uniformity reasons. This is an opportunity to potentially look at some artistic ways to interject some color. And when you talk about bus stops, the one that comes to mind, as I think, are the 4th Prater ones, which are artistic and beautiful and functional and great. And I think of the one over by the Children's Museum that has the colored stack of rocks. And that's because there's a colored stack of rocks there, and it becomes kind of the identifier for the bus stop as well. So, and to me, it makes it stand out. It's a little more interesting. And I know we'll dive into the benches and the bike racks and the other finishes that we're capable of massaging and changing. But I do appreciate staff. I know that you kind of had to back up a little bit on the bus stops, but I appreciate you doing so.
Thank you, Vice Chairman.
Commissioner Harton.
Yeah, so you guys did a great job touching on the aesthetics, and that couldn't have been better. My question is, Brian, in June 2018, we approved an amendment to the CMAR, and then in one of the last paragraphs, it says, once the tie-overs are complete and the procurement process of the CMAR contractor is finalized. We don't already have that?
No, we don't have the procurement of the CMAR. The CMAR contract that is existing is the pre-construction services, of which they're providing the services to show us how they're going to construct this and participating in the project, so we know exactly what's going on. And then when we get the 100% plans, which we have, and they're looking at, and the GMP plans, then they will submit to us the price that they're considering. And then we will bring that hopefully in May before you after negotiations.
I appreciate that clarification. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Jordan.
Yes, thank you. One of the things that I think everybody went into this project just terrified of the negative impacts it would have on the adjacent businesses. We're hearing from a number of them that they're doing okay. Some are even their numbers are even better than they have been in the past. But I think that's because there was such a big push on the highlighting of the businesses. Do we have a plan for the remainder of this project that continues to call out or highlight the businesses along the project route? And if so, can you kind of tell me what that is? Because it seemed like there was a splash, and then it's kind of been a little bit quiet.
Absolutely, and Michael has the details on that, so I'll let Michael Moreno come up and give that,
Thank you.
answer that question. Thanks.
Mr. Moreno.
Mike Moreno, Public Affairs Manager. We will continue the execution of the promotion of Midtown businesses during the lull, if you will, prior to the start of the next part of construction. We are also planning a big splash, if you will, for the next part of construction, similar to what we did when we started the utility reconstruction with the block party. So we're looking at what we can do to really accentuate what's coming up, keeping in mind that we still need to provide a lot of support to the businesses. And so we've started putting some 4 and 10-second spot advertisements on Colo TV, promoting Midtown, a generic version to support businesses, but we also are promoting the Fit in February right now on Colo TV. And so, again, increasing the presence through social media. We're going to do a number of workshops coming up here in the spring to provide additional resources to the businesses so that they can be successful. We're really going to step it up even more because we were very fortunate that this first part of construction went relatively smoothly. And we've seen some successes for the businesses for the most part, but recognizing that the next part of construction is going to be much more invasive. And so we're going to need to do much, much more than what we did during these last 5 months.
Commissioner Dare.
So I just want to say I'm down there often because my wife works on Liberty in Virginia. The office is there. And we go in there, and I tell you what, it's actually been easier since you've done construction for parking. And I think I watch a lot of people go down there because parking, I think, so the key, I think, to helping business, I just want to say, is whatever you guys can do to make parking clear. I don't think people mind the construction, at least, I mean, I don't live there, obviously, but I'm down there. And it seems that you have a lot of business happening as long as they're not driving around trying to find that. And so probably encouragement in the future of even looking at how you can keep some of those parking. But I think that might be part of your conversation, because that's the part that I think drives people away, is if we can't find parking, or I'm worried about getting towed or a ticket because I don't know where to park. So I'm sure that's part of your thing, but I do know for a fact we go down there a little more often than we even used to because it was harder before construction to find parking. Just an insight.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Dare. Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Mr. Stewart, and my final comments is, I agree with Commissioner Dare is that, that parking in the one-way traffic has been tremendous. I mean, I think, I know, and I think it's one of those unrealized gifts that we've gotten from having one-way traffic on Virginia Street. And I know, I'm going to say it, but I know there's nothing we can do about it. But I've enjoyed the one-way traffic on Virginia Street, the southbound traffic, and forcing individuals to come back up center and up different routes. It is actually allowing for a organic sort of growth of the outside surrounding areas, and people to realize that there's more than just businesses on Virginia Street. There's many businesses off the beaten path, and it gives us some different access. But I know we can't do that, and I know we're not going back. But look, from the standpoint of tourism and visitation to our community, Virginia Street is essential to connecting the south into town, where our convention center and some of our other properties are, to our downtown area, and that is essential for me. And right in the center of that is Plum Lane, where our Virginia Street ends, and our connection to our airport. And as tourism continues to grow and our region continues to grow and projects within our downtown core continue to grow, it's going to be important that we maintain these roads properly. And I think this is a great project, and I think we need to continue to move forward. And as we look at this, it's going to be essential on connecting the south and parts and no longer having a divided south and north part of Reno, but really making it a connected whole. And I look forward to this project, and the Virginia Street, and as we move forward, because it's not just about the road, but Commissioner Dare's part, how do we get people to and from and get them, conveniently parked and close to businesses? How do we move buses rapidly throughout the area? And I'm glad Keolis is here for this conversation, because it's important how we can continue to move people through that community adequately to not only suffice the businesses there, but really showcase our community, the downtown Reno, and also through the Midtown and other parts in that whole Virginia Street corridor. So without any further discussion from the remainder, looking for a acceptance of the report.
Move to accept the report.
I have a motion from Commissioner Hartung, second from Commissioner Jardin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, we are on to some legal items. So, Mr. Ferguson, I'll let you take us into this. Item 6.2.
Item 6.2 is a request that the commission approve a resolution of condemnation authorizing legal counsel to commence condemnation proceedings for a permanent easement and a temporary construction easement on APN 014-06311 and a temporary construction easement on APN 014-063-07. Those are property interests that are necessary for the construction of the Virginia Street project, and I believe Mr. Stewart has some specifics about exactly what those property interests are.
Great, thank you, Mr. Ferguson. And this is a request of myself and other commissioners that, obviously these condemnation proceedings are very serious, and they are, it's something that we utilize here at the RTC to do our construction. So we do take these proceedings very seriously. So, Mr. Stewart, if you'll give us a little bit more highlight in regards to the reasons for the condemnation.
Absolutely. Brian Stewart, Director of Engineering. Yes, the project design has determined the need for the public easements on these parcels. APN 014-063-07, we're looking for a temporary construction easement, 309 square feet, to construct the sidewalks, curb, driveway transitions, and landscaping necessary for the project. Also on APN 014-063-11, we're looking at a temporary construction easement of 698 square feet to construct the sidewalks, curbs, driveway transitions, landscaping, irrigation, and also a 2 square foot PUE to construct and maintain the pedestrian ramps improvements that are on the project. So the notices have been provided to the property owner for these acquisitions. Appraisals have been completed. Appraisals have been reviewed. The offer of just compensation has been presented. Negotiations will continue. However, we need to request for this to keep the project on schedule. A 21-day notice was issued regarding the board considering the initiation of eminent domain proceedings, but negotiations will continue.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Are there any discussions from the board? I do not have any public comments signed in on this item, and I do see if you would like to speak, come on down. Please sign in at the dais after your comments, and we can. Well, I know it is. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Can you state your name for the record?
At 92, give me a minute. I'm not
okay.
Not as sharp as I used to be.
Take your time, sir.
Members of the board, this is my wife, Sonia, of many years duration. I'm Dr. Eliescu. I've lived in this community 50 years. I was plastic reconstructive surgeon, reconstructing breast after cancer, head and neck cancer, trauma, burns. It's a wonderful community, and we're very proud to be here. I have great-grandchildren here. Before we go further, I'm a disabled vet from the Second World War. Recently, someone told me that at that time there was at least 100 million soldiers in the field. 2 years ago, that had dwindled down to 640,000. And currently, we're losing about 350 veterans a day. So my friends tell me, don't buy any green bananas. I want to assure this wonderful body that my wife and I are not bad guys. You don't need to condemn me for the reason that you just heard. We approve that. So the question might be, well, what are we doing here? To reason we're here is at the suggestion of many people, at least a half a dozen, including some honest people from Paragon, that have said, Dr. Eliescu, please read what you received. We gave you a copy of our concern. Actually, I see that. Actually, my wife would probably do a better job at this than I do, but I'm stuck. Now, let's see if we can summarize this and see what our concern is. First of all, let's put to bed that we certainly want to do anything and everything that's in the best interest of this community. And I would ask anyone there to challenge us. I would ask anyone to ask if that's not true. We've been offered $13,000. We don't need your money. I'll take and give it to someone else. I came here with very little money, and the area has been wonderful to us. So what is our concern? We received a whole bunch of papers, and in those papers there are multiple paragraphs. And within those paragraphs there are 2 or 3 lines that really hurt us. And I don't want to believe that anyone on this committee would partake in this, because there's no one that I talk to that can believe it. So what is the concern? If you look at that schematic I have,
Mr. Eliescu, I apologize. Your 3 minutes are up, but if your wife would like to finish up the comments.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
3 minutes.
Can my wife have 3 minutes?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Your
Please,
wife,
I think this is important for our
absolutely.
community.
We're here to
If you
listen.
don't want me to talk, I'll sit down and we'll do it another way.
No, it's on.
Oh,
Mr.
thank you.
Chairman, if necessary,
Okay.
I'd be happy to ask for additional time from Mr. Eliescu. I think it's important to hear from the actual property owner.
Okay.
And I understand the 3 minutes, Mr. Chair, but as long as Mr. Eliescu can.
Well, let's let his
compile
wife,
his thoughts.
Miss Sandy, would you like to talk or try to?
Do you want me to speak
Or
I can't speak for her.
no, you can. You go ahead,
Okay,
Mr. Eliescu.
all right.
We'll grant you another 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. I think it's in due respect to all of us.
Yes, absolutely.
If you look at that schematic, you'll see that there is that yellow line marks out whole piece of property, of which the red line is one solid lot. We bought that lot separately. That is parceled separately. Midtown has really exploded. And we have a lease on this property now for 20 years. And for 20 years, the people that have the building also wanted this lot for their employees' parking and for their customers. What's our concern here? We've been asked a number of times if we would sell this property or have somebody build something on it, because there's such a demand for property there. Unknowns to maybe anyone in this group, what they're planning to do is there's 2 entrances and exits off Virginia Street, and they're planning to take away the exit where the red arrow is away from this lot. So if one wanted to build or do something here, the only way they could have access or egress from it is through the alley. Now, why do they have to do that? It destroys that whole piece of property. And listen to this. Their determination is that it doesn't affect the property at all, and they're still only going to give us $13,000, and I don't want your money. I want to be able to make every bit of our property in in Reno, functional. And this piece of property is a beautiful piece of property, and without that egress where the red arrow is, it kills it. Imagine having a business and coming in through the alley. Would you do that at your own home? That's our concern, and that's hidden in the documents that we must sign in order to give you permission to use the easement that you need on Virginia. We want you to have that easement. It's a temporary easement. It doesn't affect anything in the long run. But we all know how essential property is in Midtown, parking. They've taken residential homes and converted them to commercial. Thank you for listening. I'll answer any questions. I don't think anybody here was made aware of that that they're taking and eliminating a very viable piece of property, and at the same time don't want to even consider giving you anything because they say it doesn't affect anything. And that sheet on the back of this will show you their interpretation. So please, we're all in one family here in Reno. We work together, we see each other. Just for a moment, put yourself in that spot. It's not right.
Thank you, Mr. Iliescu. All right. Thank you so much for your comments today. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just thank you for the indulgence.
Yeah, you're welcome. At this time, Mr. Stewart, I do have one quick question about this. This is in regression, in concerns to what Dr. Iliescu is referring to. This is a temporary easement, is it not, in regards to that front access to South Virginia Street? As I'm looking at Exhibit B.
Let me turn to that.
Chairman Lucy?
Yes.
If I might, my understanding, and Mr. Stewart could correct me if I'm wrong, it's not the actual temporary construction easement where the red arrow is that will block the access, but the design of the project, and the temporary construction easement is needed to do the construction on the project.
But ultimately, the project will take away that access, correct?
The access will remove. There's a roundabout that's going in there, and the transitions for the roundabout affect that access for safely ingress and egress out of that parcel as alone. It is assembled parcel with the other one, and so the highest and best use is as assembled.
So that piece of property will now have access off of Martin Street, is that correct? Or Mary Street?
As the larger parcel has from Virginia, from Virginia on the larger parcel, and Moran and the alleyway.
Okay, all right. Well, this is not a condemnation. What I'd like to put on the record, thank you, Mr. Stewart. What I'd like to put on the record is that this is not a condemnation finalization or a taking or what that? The eminent domain, thank you very much. Proceeding at this point, this is just basically allowance of staff to proceed with those discussions. Hopefully we can find some resolution to this. I look forward to those discussions happening with staff and legal counsel, and obviously Mr. and Mrs. Iliescu. So thank you. All right. Any further discussion on this topic at this time? Seeing none, I will look for a recommendation to move forward with it. Looking for a motion.
Thank you very much. And since this is, again, not a final step, but a step, I would move forward with the proceedings as outlined by staff.
All right. I'll second that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, item 6.3, we are here for a resolution of condemnation for property rights related to APN 011-23101 and APN 011-23113, necessary to construct a Virginia Street Bus Rapid Transit Extension Project. Mr. Ferguson, do you want to take us into this one again?
Yes, this is a request of the commission to approve a resolution of condemnation for temporary construction easements on APN 011-231-01 and a permanent easement and a temporary construction easement on APN 011-231-13 needed for the construction of the Virginia Street project. And I believe Mr. Stewart has a little more information on specifically the nature of those property interests.
Mr. Stewart.
Brian Stewart, Director of Engineering. Project design has determined the need for easements on the parcels, APN 011-231-01. We're looking to obtain a temporary construction easement of 137 square feet to construct the actual curb sidewalks, driveway transition, landscaping, irrigation, and street lighting improvements. On APN 011-23113, we're looking for a temporary construction easement of 298 square feet to construct the sidewalks, curb, driveway transitions, landscaping, irrigation, and street lighting, and also a permanent easement of 71 square feet to maintain the sidewalk, curb, and pedestrian ramp improvements. Notices have been provided to the property owner for the need for these acquisitions. Appraisals have been completed, appraisals have been reviewed, and the offer of just compensation has been presented. Negotiations are continuing, however, RTC needs to keep this project on schedule. 21-day notice was issued regarding the board considering initiating eminent domain proceedings, and negotiations will continue.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Any discussion by any board members at this time in regards to this? I do not have any public comment signed in for this item about the item 6.3. Seeing no discussion at this time, looking for a motion.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Jordan, second by Commissioner Dare. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Please let the record show that Commissioner Hartung was absent for that vote. Thank you, Mr. Stewart, appreciate it. All right, we are on to item 7.1, which is legal issues.
No legal issues at the moment.
None to be heard. Okay, good. Last time we talked, Mr. Ferguson, you had requested a potential legal briefing this meeting, but we're going to need one next meeting.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will try to put that on the calendar as you fit. All right, we are on to our final public comment. I do not have anybody signed in for public comment, but anybody wishing to speak, please don't come on down. You can sign in after your comment. That'd be great.
Hi, my name is Ryan McKinney. I think you guys might be in a little bit of trouble because 5.1 did not have any public comment after that presentation. So you guys can probably might get hammered on that because it was for everything else had public comment, but 5.1 didn't. And I see some errors of the Microtransit because I do use Access. I've been using it since 1999. And the first is that you're going to use Reed like you do Carson, like 3 times a day, Carson, back here and back to Carson, AM the afternoon. That's got to be along that same line, like 2 or 3 times a day, just like Carson in the morning and the afternoon. And also, if I use Access, and that's the area where I work in. So how, is that going to affect the way, if I'm on my Access and then that has to go pick up someone else that's using the Microtransit, or they're going to be 2 separate, two separate just only for the Microtransit use in the area? And then one more thing is the app it needs to be compliant with ADA for the disabled and the blind community, so that way you guys don't get hammered like the Nevada system has been hammered by the blind community, how we've been hammering you guys of how to make everything compliant up to ADA gold standards, where it's fair and compliant for everyone to use in the disabled community. And that's about it for the moment. Thank you.
All right, great. I think if you have any more questions, staff can meet with you in the back and discuss the Microtransit with you further. All right, seeing no further public, and can I get you to sign in, please, really quick? Right here, down here at the dais. Denise will take your name for the record. All right, seeing no further public comment, we're on to item 9, any member items. Are there any member items for future agendas that anybody would like to discuss? All right, one item that I'd like to discuss and bring back, and Ms. Cummings, just so we can get an update from you and Mr. Stewart and probably Mr. Jickling, is regards to bus stations, where we're at with the bus stations and the improvements on the bus stations, after the winter season and what we're going to be doing for future expansions. I know it's always good, but it's probably good that we have a new bus route operator. Maybe some discussions with Keolis about what those, how our stations are running for them, and what maybe their suggestions are as it pertains to our drivers and our new operator, what we can be doing. Because as I mentioned in Double Diamond, looking at individuals standing in the grass in a wheelchair waiting for a bus is still unacceptable to me, and we need to start working on how we're going to improve that mass transit for a number of our communities. So I want to make sure that that's something we continue to harp on. All right, seeing no other member items at this time, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.